The other thing I did was I mentioned in the first video about like this headhunter here that's in your and you can find like followers with certain traits, and I couldn't do it on my warlock because she didn't have anything for me.
How are you?
Iron has access to that, and you can like select what are you looking for. Are you looking one that has like abilities of like deadly minions or group damage counteracting or massive strikes? They can avoid massive strikes. Are they do they work well out in the wilderness? Do they work well with if it's a timed battle? The other thing you can do is like do searching for traits. And then you can get into like your professions. Do you want to have like them having like extra stamina so they won't get tired out on extended missions? Do you want to have like epic mount so you can reduce the cooldown on like the duration of the actual battle event? Um, like some of the other ones are racial preferences, like if they're like for example with Children of the Moon, they get a bonus. They kind of like some of them are like it's kind of quirky is that if they're with like if you're a dwarf and you're with another dwarf they a lot of them seem to be on like female to male and that sort of stuff. They get perks that they kind of have a crush on that person. So that's how this works. You can only ask for one follower through the headhunter per week. And let's see here. I think I am on this one. Ability. Let's go back to abilities. I don't think I have a lot of like uh, powerful spells. Like that's a pretty common one out there. You just say choose recruit, and it brings up here's three uh, NPCs that meet that search requirement that you were looking for, and you can see like they're all like these are all like level 90s, and like there's a little gnome, two Draenei's of different thing. Like this one's a warrior, two warriors, and a monk. Little female gnome monk, and so let's just for the fun of it hire her. Actually, you want to do it for the week? Yes.
Have a good one.
And you now have it. I have it in my garrison listing here. Um, where is she? There she is. And she, for example, you know how, like I said, different traits and that sort of stuff. Increase success chance when on a mission with a human. So if you're in a 3 person or 2 person mission and she's with a human, she gets a bonus to succeeding that mission. And she has the monk to interrupt the spell, and they all have like an experience bar, just like we do. That in this case, going from 90 to 91 requires full 100 XP. And you saw like from the when I was doing the missions, I have a bunch of missions here. This is how you can find out um, how long or how many professions or work orders are complete. Right now, I have 26 of them completed that I can pick up. And as I said yesterday, there are like NPCs that you are from the world that you can pick up like missions to go into dungeons, and they give you items. Okay, that's. And you remembered on the first video I had brought up what they classify as the drafting table, and it was on my warlock, which had a rank 2 garrison. This is what like the rank 3 garrison map looks like. And that's like the town hall. And this is the menagerie for your battle pets. Like my inn, I have a mage tower. I have the forge, which is your blacksmithing, your engineering, and my storehouse, which is your banker. Then everybody, that's where your herb garden is. And the one thing about like the herb garden, it's not like the uh, herbing from like your farm in Mop, where you had, oh crap, I have to uh, plant all these herbs and or these plants and come back tomorrow and pick them and then re-toil like turn over the soil and plant new ones. No, they didn't do any of that sort of stuff with the herb garden. You'll have a bunch of planters around your garden, and you just basically click on the herb and you pick it up. And if you have herbalism as your gathering profession, you'll get more herbs and you'll have faster respawns of new ones than if you do not have herbalism. And the same with like the as I mentioned with the mine, like Iron has like the rank 3 mine because she's level 100. And based on what size of mine you get bigger, and then you have like I have a rank 2 fishing hut. And if you get into like rank 3 fishing, you can actually fish from the lake that's right outside your garrison. Um, the other thing is like every garrison has their own target raid target dummies. There are target dummies for healing, DPSing, and tanking. They by like we're over here by the mine and the tower here. There's actually a tower that's supposed to be on the map, but it's not on the map. And so that's kind of the basics of that. And these are I'm going to go through a bit of the what's in each side of the professions, like building sizes. The basic ones are all your professions. For example, your engineering works, which is your uh, engineering building. Your storehouse is basically your bank. The forge is your blacksmith. Your alchemy lab is for alchemy, of course. Enchanter's study, enchanting. And then your jewel crafting is gem boutique. Salvagard, what that does is that when you're out, you have that building and you send your followers out to do tasks to collect things. They can bring back rare items or bits and pieces so that you can make gear for your companions at level 100 so that you can upgrade the companions. Like the first tier is 615, second tier is 630 and 645. That's what the scavenger. This gives you a better chance to get access to uh, the items to be able to make the upgraded items for your followers for them to be able to do harder and harder missions. And then you get in your scriber, which is like for that. The tailoring sporium is for like the tailoring, and the tannery is for like the leatherworking. Then you get into the mediums, which are what would be like my lumber mill on my mini map here. Uh, then you get in like the landfall inn, which you saw with like companion. The barn, um, you're able to like collect leather, and you're able to collect uh, like the blood from animals you captured that are used to make the items to make uh, the items go from level 2 to level 3. A lot of the professions use an epic blood that's from that you can get from the barn or the auction house or trade in from a trader within your garrison, from a trading hut, trading post, to from like garrison resources. Um, Gladiator's Sanctum is a PvP type system that once you've completed all the missions with them, you can challenge someone. You go into a challenge and see who's the best in a one-on-one at the end of the big huge thing. The trading post is basically a merchant that sells trade goods that's used that's bought with your uh, regions, like from your garrison resources. And then you get into your large buildings, which are barracks, which if you don't have barracks, you have a maximum of 20 people. If you have a barracks, it gives you an extra 5, so you can have up to 25 followers active at any point. If you say you don't need this particular follower, you can deactivate them. It'll deactivate that uh, person for a week, and then you can restore one NPC per day to be able to send it on missions, but they cost gold to activate. The Mage Tower has like the portals to different zones, and the Dwarven Bunker. The little perk of it is that it gives you upgraded armor for your guards within your garrison. The other thing is that you can get one of the bonus roll tokens from the bunker, so that you're still only able to get 3 of those per week, but it gives you 1 per week from the bunker without you having to do anything. So you only have to go out and do dailies, or buy them with gold, buy them with epic charges, do some ashran, etc. And then the Gnomish Gearworks is like they buy gadgets for out in the world and stuff like that. Stables allows you to capture mobs out in like beasts out in the world to come back to be able to like train them so that they become mounts for you. The other thing about the stables is that if you have a stables, you'll all of a sudden some of your mounts will be spread around the stables displaying like out in the world. So like on one of my characters on the beta has like the stables, and because it's a pre-made character, it has invincible, and invincible's sitting there eating hay in my stables. Or the Amani Warbear from ZA is sitting there in my stables, but I still have access to that mount if I want in the real world. And then those are like all the large. And as this with a rank 3, you're able to have 2 larges, 2 mediums, and 3 smalls. See, these 3 are the smalls: lumber mill, inn, and mage tower. All or inn and lumber mill are mediums, and the larges for this particular situation is the mage tower and the barracks. But you can have the other thing is a lot of the like the ignits from blacksmithing are button pickups. You can't make them on an alt and mail them to your other alt. But um, like the engineering, fire, elemental type things that you make are BOEs, like so you can trade them between the bloods that are from the barn are tradable between people because you can sell it on the auction house. So certain mats are bind on pickup that are uh, profession only mats for that character. And this is like a level 3 building where you have all this. There's not a lot of difference, but see, like with all these NPCs are around, and if I talk to them, they will change all my guards to that faction, and it'll make the banners. But you do have to have rank 3 barracks to have access to that. The reason why there's all even though I'm 100, that says I haven't completed, they were all they on the beta. They reset all the questing that you would get as soon as you landed, or any quests that were related to your garrison. They reset in a previous build, but you can't recomplete them, or you can complete them, but you don't get anything really out of them. Um, And people were wondering, how fast do you get a garrison? You'll do like a starting zone. It takes about 45 to 50 minutes to get your feet onto Draenor, meet your faction, like the faction leaders, etc., etc., etc. You escape from the Iron Horde. You're trying to close basically the first zone is to close down the Dark Portal. So now you're stuck on Draenor. So you have to make a base to set a foothold on Draenor for your faction. So you at that point you'll be pretty close to 91 when in about 45 to 60 minutes of questing you'll hit Shadowmoon Valley or Frostfire Frostfire Ridge zone as Horde. Then you'll start up a bit of questing. You'll do maybe 5 quests. You'll have this little events, and there's some pretty neat little conversations. So you want to have like the dialogue turned on because there's some pretty funny stuff with in your garrison with some of the like NPCs and that. So like they added a lot more flavor to the NPCs that you're dealing with that have communications, or another NPC will make a say of like, look at this one, he's the leader, and this thing for this particular questing or activating this NPC. So once you that, you'll get your rank 1, and you'll get a couple quests from within your garrison, and then you really start into once your base is set in, then you really start into the full story, full questing of like either Shadowmoon Valley or Frostfire Ridge after that. The initial like building your garrison, it might be a little bit busier on the first day because like it's a very small area and you have to do like 3 quests for the initial garrison. Then you have to do another like to set your plot, like clear your plot for your garrison. Then you have to do another about 4 quests to actually get the resources to build the basic garrison, and then you go out in the world. So it probably takes within about an hour and a half of starting Warlords of Draenor, you'll have your garrison of rank 1. And then from then you'll start going out into you'll get questing from your garrison to send you out. The other thing is, like, for example, you finish Shadow Moon Valley or hit a certain level, and you say, oh crap, I have to go to the next zone. What they've done is a really smart idea for getting initially to the uh, next zone is that you'll pick up like off your like the board in Stormwind or Ironforge or Darnassus and that it'll say go talk to the flight master, and you talk to the flight master, they'll fly you to the next zone, and then you'll start questing there. About within about 5 to 10 minutes of starting questing in the new zone, you'll get the initial flight pass of that zone, so that you can always leave that zone or fly back. Like Gorgron, you fly to from your garrison on the initial quest. You land, and there's the fight master to you can fly back to your garrison or whatever of that nature. So it's pretty good that way. Like some of them are a little bit more deeper to getting like the initial flight path, but the other thing about the questing is it's like the questing is very story driven. I know some people don't want story driven questing and stuff, but it's very story driven. There are bonus objectives while you're out in the real world. What they will show up is as like cross swords on your world map. And the other thing is about the bonus objectives. Like you might only get around 12k worth of XP from completing. Here's what FK within game, 12k worth of XP for completing that mission. But you complete that bonus objective, you get 77k worth of XP, for example. So that bonus objective that you've ridden by or right, and they're not a lot of most of them. There's a few zones that have them are kind of out of the way, so they're worth a little bit more XP. But a lot of them are like you're riding down the road and you just ride off the road, across the field, and there'll be an NPC type thing. They're not like you're going from bonus objectives that are like out in the middle of nowhere that you have to go off your beating path. A lot of the bonus objectives are optional, of course, but are in the same area that you're already questing in. The other thing is a lot of the bonus objectives pop into your log while you're in that area. So you're on your quest log, you see right on my screen right now, I have a bunch of them. Pop in your log, and it'll automatically track them. And say you'll leave for some reason that bonus objective, it'll remove it off your screen. It'll still remember that you have the quest. If you go back into that section that has that bonus objective, it'll pick up on, say, collect 12 out of 12 items of this, and you got the 6. It'll remember the 6 items, so you'll be able to complete a later time. So that, which is pretty neat that way. And so like there's bonus objectives that give a lot more questing and that. As for like some of the followers you actually have to pick which follower you want from completing a certain quest. You'll have a selection of 3, and you have to pick which one. Other ones you find out in the real world. In like some of them are in caves, some of them are like you finish just a plain quest. They say thank you for helping me. Can I join you? And that type of thing. So that's how you get a lot of the followers. There are like 145 different followers within the game, but you can only have 25 of them active at any given point if you have the barracks. Again, some of them are like have different traits depending on what their specialty. Like I have a prot warrior, I have Vestal shamans, uh, like druids. They're all like all the different specs Like you can have a Flexion Warlock, you can have a Discipline Priest, you can have like Marksman Hunter, the Subtlety Rogue. They're all every every spec within the roles, and each they put in like each little follower has its own little like feel to them, like attitude or their traits. And as the followers level up, they get more and more traits. The other thing about it is, it's just like you saw maybe when you were doing the uh, Blast of Lands questing, is that followers can actually, when you pick them and you learn them, same with like doing quest rewards, is that you can get like an epic version of that NPC. So like the epic version over the green version of that NPC will have more abilities, more traits. You can actually, the other thing is you can actually re-roll your followers' traits, but again that costs resources and gold. Um, if there's any other like information people will want, I'll make a video or do a crash course at a later time. Um, I hope I didn't blabber on too much with all this information. I know the garrisons, there's a lot of stuff to do with your garrison. You might become a little, someone might think it's a little overwhelming, but a lot of it is very self-explanatory and it's not dumped on you at all at once. So you're not having to learn everything. And like what I did, like the mission table or that type of thing, it goes through the same thing you did when you open every voice charge, when it does like you have to click the next button and it'll explain what this button does and how to do this. And so it's pretty like a little tutorial. You don't have to do that again. And the other thing you want to know is, how do I get back to like from Draenor back to Stormwind and that? You can, once you've gotten uh, your flight path to Ashran, within Ashran there will be portals to every faction capital city. The other thing is that, as they mentioned in the thing, is that there's actually within my bag I know it's a mess because I haven't done a cleanup. See, like you have your normal Hearthstone, and then you have your Garrison Hearthstone. It's a different picture. Your Garrison Hearthstone has a 20-minute cooldown, and you're able to port back to your Garrison without having to set your Hearth to that, and you can set your other Hearthstone to out in, like if you're questing the Grand, you can send it off in the main base, the main like outpost within the Grand, so you don't have to run all the way or fly all the way back out to the Grand if you want to start questing back up again. Um, a lot of the like garrison, like you'll have like your rested, like right now I'm in classified as the inn, like for the rested portion of it. Um, the but getting back to like Ashran, so like Ashran is like basically the new capital city of Draenor. It's all divided up into like the main factions. Like there's one section of it that has all like Stormwind architecture. There's one that has all the Darnassus architecture. There's one that's all like the Iron Forge, like big, huge metal and stone buildings, and like the Draenei and that type of thing have their own. And within their little section of Ashran, by the main building of that particular faction, is a portal to that capital city. And then you say, okay, how do I get from Stormwind, for example, And yes, it's going to be coming from Stormwind because they basically put the same location that they have all the portals for, like going to Stonecore or uh, Vash or that type of thing. uh, Twilight Highlands, there will be a miniature portal there, and that'll port you to, like if you're on Alliance, to the beginning, very where you land when you start out at your questing within Shadowmoon Valley, and then you just have to right over to your garrison. The only thing that I found was a bit of a pain when you become a level 2 garrison or level 3 garrison, the entrance that's on that side gets blocked off with a wall. So you have to ride around to the at that point to the backside to get into your garrison. So there's a little bit of a trek that's a little bit of an issue that I found. But it's not like it takes a long time to get back into your garrison, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Um, Depending on if you follow the roads from that or do you cut through all the beasts and stuff uh, to get back into your garrison. Then you can use the flight path from there to uh, get off uh, to wherever you're questing in that. And like from like the see the table that's over right now over here, it's the exact same as like the table that they had in the Throne of Thunder quest hub. It's so you have like I have these two quests, and depending on which one I take, it'll give me the week like the daily quest to go out and do questing in that area. And the questing for like the thing is not like, oh, I have to uh, kill 12 of these things and find this person or whatever. They went away with and generalized the daily grind at level 100 to the point that you don't have to kill things if you don't want to kill things. You probably will because you'll have to kill through mobs to get to other objectives. But it might be uh, open cages to rescue captured of that particular like race you're trying to help, or kill rares within that sector. Every single zone of the game has part of the zone is set off as a level 100. So you're not like questing, oh, the daily hub is only in Shadowmoon Valley, or it's only in Gorgon, or it's only in the Grand. No. Each day the system will pick like a couple areas. And this today you might have Nagrand. Tomorrow when you check the table, you might have Shadowmoon Valley. And then within the uh, zones, some of them have like two different sectors of the zone that are dedicated to level 100 content. So they put in a lot more like breaking up the monotony of grinding. And you say, oh, with the questing and that type of thing, is that, oh, I have to grind up to get this pattern or whatever with this faction because there are factions in Draenor. No, you don't have to do any grinding of like rep if that's the big if you do not want mounts from that faction or non-combat pets or little uh, sort of cosmetic stuff. They locked those behind like rep grinds and that type of stuff, but they did not like what they did within 5.0 lock behind like all the enchanting mats like of this type were on like Shadowpan, but you couldn't get access to Shadowpan until you got to Revered from Gold Lotus. And then you had to hit Honored and Revered from Shadowpan to be able to get those patterns. No, they didn't do any of that type of thing. As I say, all profession stuff is learned from your daily cooldown from your player within and button from like either the embassy within your garrison or the embassy that's related to that particular uh, profession within Ashran itself. Well, that's it for the videos. As I say, I will do more if people want more.